Welcome to another installment of Deconstructing Babylon, where we discern the signs and symbols of the mystery religion of Hollywood Babylon. I'm the Discerning Clerk, and I use a biblical framework to deconstruct my favorite movies from the 90s.
Noticed your eyeglasses. They don't have any lenses in them.
They're my dad's. The lenses hurt my eyes.
As Hollywood puts out more blatant symbolism and obvious programming, more people are starting to wake up to the truth and notice the signs. And there are a few 90s movies that people have been able to identify the symbolism in. Movies like The Matrix, Signs, Terminator 2, and today's selection, The Truman Show. So my deconstruction today probably won't be groundbreaking. Released in 1998, it garners 5 stars from the Video Movie Guide, which says, "This profound and wildly outrageous bit of theater of the absurd would do Eugene Ionesco proud. It boasts triple threat credentials, Andrew Niccol's cleverly crafted script, a frankly astonishing performance from Jim Carrey that's leagues beyond anything else he's ever done, and shrewd direction by Aussie Peter Weir. Carrey's Truman Burbank lives the American dream in a postcard-perfect small town, little realizing that he's the star of his own life, being broadcast 24 hours a day to an engrossed world. All his friends and neighbors are merely players on this giant soundstage, and he's the only one who doesn't know it, although his suspicions are mounting." Although the premise is outrageous, Carrey's extraordinary progression from a content, if occasionally puzzled, white-collar suburbanite to a paranoid victim suddenly uncertain of his entire universe is smooth and never even a heartbeat shy of wholly credible. Rated PG. Whew, that was a mouthful. And it's curious to me when they name and praise the faceless, behind-the-camera contributors. It's also fascinating that the writers of the synopsis consider the premise outrageous, considering what we know now. Nevertheless, this deconstruction has the potential to be either my longest to date or shortest. So let's get right into The Truman Show. The movie starts immediately on a close-up of the director. Not Peter Weir, but Christof. His warm, bespectacled face that gets right to the why we're all here.
While the world he inhabits is, in some respects, counterfeit, there's nothing fake about Truman himself.
I'll just speak to their names for a minute because this is one of those cases where the character names are part of the symbolism. Christof, literally of Christ or bearing Christ. As the man in charge, we can view him as, to use his own words, a counterfeit Messiah. And he lords himself over Truman, the true man, sometimes used to refer to the first man, Adam. When we meet Truman, it isn't only on a screen, but also through a mirror. We've seen mirrors used a lot in the movies I've deconstructed, and though I've never brought it up, I believe Hollywood Babylon uses mirrors as symbols of counterfeit duality, pointing to the duality within each person. As Truman is the only real character on his show, we are introduced to the hypocrites hired to play his friends and family, specifically his wife Meryl and his best friend Marlon, which aren't their real names. And it makes me wonder why they wouldn't use their own names as such a long-running character. Just more counterfeit. Truman lives at a house with 36 on it. I've brought this up in another deconstruction, which was, of course, challenged, but I want to reiterate that Babylon uses 3-6 like this as a pointer to 3 sixes, or 666. So they're telling us the true man lives under the number of the beast.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Truman doesn't have a dog himself, but his next-door neighbor does. A spotted breed known for their service and association with firefighters. Truman is frightened of this black and white dual dog named Pluto. Can you see all the symbolism in just the dog? The dog in Hollywood Babylon is the use of the occultic law of reversal, where dog is God either to the director or the associated character. In this case, we will attribute this view of the Most High to Christof. Then the sky starts to fall. Not really the sky, but a star. Not really a star, but a light named for a star. The dog star, Sirius. Okay, what is happening?
Dog fancy, please.
No, what's actually going on with all the dog references? And besides the dogs, there are also twins everywhere, which is strange when they've just talked about an airplane malfunctioning, which was producer's explanation for the falling star, Sirius. And while the presence of twins isn't unusual in film production, with the addition of airplane talk leads me to think we're seeing some 9/11 programming.
Okay, that's 2 for 1. That's a good deal. Doppelganger special.
This is a staggering amount of symbolism in only 5 minutes. When Truman is at work as an insurance salesman, ironic, he exhibits some strange behaviors, including calling Fiji and ripping eyes out of a woman's magazine. Already a discontentment is growing in Truman, which he shares with his best friend, Marlon.
So, when are you gonna go?
It's not that simple.
A traumatic flashback reveals why it's difficult for Truman to leave his small island town. A storm on the water swept his father away when he was still a small child, or so the story went.
Dad?
Seeing his dad, who was meant to be dead, is the catalyst for Truman to question the people in his life.
Telling you if it wasn't him, it was his twin.
More twins references, and Truman's mom is quick to say that both Truman and his father have no siblings. At home with his wife, Truman behaves more secretively, and we start to learn that his heart may not be with Meryl after all. He meets Sylvia at the trumpet sound. I know, it's a stretch, but Marlon playing the trumpet is a definite choice. Sylvia was not cast as Truman's love interest, so they must deal with her.
Truman, I'm not allowed to talk to you.
She tries to tell him the truth, but of course, the truth sounds crazy to Truman, because it would mean his entire life is a lie. They tell him that she's sick and that the family is moving to Fiji, and now we see why he's ripping facial features out of a magazine. He desires to see Sylvia again, so he builds a picture of her until he can get to Fiji. Again, he confides in Marlon, his fishy friend. He feels not all is well in Sea Haven.
I think this is about my dad.
Your dad?
I think he's alive.
These two are often together, here at the edge of land and water, under the sky that has the setting sun and the ever-present moon.
Look at that sunset, Truman. It's perfect.
Yeah. That's the big guy.
A reference to the Most High. But the big guy isn't Yahweh in this case, it's Christoph. Truman has decided to leave his life in Sea Haven to find Sylvia, but also seeking adventure, meaning, and truth. He quickly learns that he can't trust anyone, including his own wife.
I'll cross my fingers for you.
Considerable efforts are made to keep Truman in line, including fear tactics regarding traveling, which very much feels like the tactic they are currently using against us. But this is an interesting list. Truman is not deterred, and he persists to try to leave Sea Haven.
You're upset because you want to go to Fiji, is that it?
He brings Meryl along for the trip, at first to bring her in on his conspiracy theories, but then the truth starts to come out.
You're welcome, Truman.
Men in nuclear suits surround him, and I'm starting to wonder if, in addition to 9/11 programming, we're also seeing COVID-19 predictive images. What would you do if you were lied to and gaslit your entire life? You'd freak out. You would doubt everyone and everything they said to you.
It feels like the whole world revolves around me somehow.
And here's the thing. Humans were made to worship, not to be worshipped. We've seen time and time again the weight of worship crush a person. They've shown a number of scenes involving viewers of The Truman Show, perhaps to remind us that it's not real. The movie opened with the director, Christoph, who has since remained silent until now.
The last thing I'd ever do is lie to you.
Truman once again confides in Marlon and is once again gaslit and lied to. He never gets the truth from anyone.
Sure, he's got quite a story to tell.
Check out the duality here between Truman and Marlon. So, production brings Truman's dad literally back from the dead.
That will win the ratings period.
Must be sweeps week. Now at the 1 hour mark, our universe expands and we see the vector of the production. The island of Sea Haven is a dome-enclosed set built in the Hollywood Hills, and literally everyone in the world knows Truman. It's the ultimate parasocial relationship.
Come with us now as we go live to the Lunar Room on the 221st floor.
The counterfeit moon in Sea Haven is actually the base for Christoph and the rest of the production team. The so-called televisionary, good name, tells us even more about the show, the town, and Truman himself.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented.
He tells of others who have tried to infiltrate the show in order to free Truman from his idyllic prison. And Sylvia, the one who got away, stays on that track to set Truman free. The show goes on, but without Meryl. Plot twist, she shouldn't have any trouble getting more gigs now. Whenever Truman has a crisis of faith, Marlon is brought in to make it right. But this time it's not enough. Truman manages to not only escape his house, but also evades all the cameras, including the eye in the sky. And if there's no Truman, there's no Truman Show. And for the first time in its history, the show goes off the air. They bring the sun up in the middle of the night, and the entire town comes together to try to find Truman.
We're not watching the sea.
He's on the water. His mission is Sylvia, but it's not that easy. He can't just leave.
No, I think we're going to want to localize a storm over the boat.
The storm kicks up, and Truman is tossed from his vessel, the Santa Maria, our first reference to Mary.
Is that the best you can do? You're gonna have to kill me!
And being in the water represents either a baptism or new birth. Kristoff finally relents the attack on Truman, and this entire scene reminds me of another story from the Bible, when a raging storm threatened the lives of the souls aboard a small boat. But then Truman comes to the edge of his tiny enclosed world. We get the appearance of him walking on the water until he arrives at a staircase. A voice from the sky speaks.
I can hear you.
Who are you?
I am the creator of a television show that gives hope and joy and inspiration to millions.
Then who am I?
You're the star.
In his 30th year, Truman leaves the world created for him to enter another. We are to believe he trades the counterfeit for the authentic, but we have no idea what comes next for him. Instead, the final image is of two faithful viewers who simply get on with their lives and watch a different show. Let's start with what we do know about the symbolism contained within. They clearly use fear tactics to try to manipulate and control Truman, to keep him from asking too many questions. Fear of the water so he won't leave, making people sick so he will stay, killing his father to traumatize him, and then resurrecting his dad to manipulate him further. We come away from the story feeling happy for Truman that he's out, but we never really felt sorry for him when he was in. And I actually have so many more questions now that he is out. What was the public's response to him? Did he marry Sylvia? Did they go to Fiji? What happened to the show? Did they start over with another baby? Or was Kristoff blacklisted from Hollywood? All right, that's enough technicalities. We're here for biblical symbolism. Well, I am. I previously established that Kristoff was a counterfeit Messiah, an antichrist figure who stands in place of and against the real Messiah. Though he doesn't act like a savior to anyone, not even Truman. Rather, I get the impression he's more like the dragon referenced in John's Revelation. Revelation 13, in part, says this: I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast. Power was given him over all tribes, tongues, and nations, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the Lamb's book of life. Another beast came up out of the earth, and he had power to give life to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should speak, and cause that as many would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Let him that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Truman is the beast from the sea haven specifically. The world has cause to worship the beast and the image of the beast. He lives under the number of the beast, and he is a man to be worshipped. The movie opened with a star falling from the sky, and that's how the end begins. When the stars start to fall from the heavens, the sky will be rolled back like a scroll. It's crazy to think that this movie isn't just fear-mongering, but is pointing us to the end of days, which we are currently in. Who is the beast from the sea that John references? I don't know. But one thing I do know, he'll be on television. Thank you for enduring to the end. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and a thumbs down if you didn't. Subscribe if you want to, but don't follow me. Follow the one who saves you. And until next time, keep looking up.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?